Hey, legends, welcome back to another NRL Fantasy Fanatic podcast. We're here with our co-host and host, as always, William Fanshawe, but our special guest, Jai. How are we, boys?
Yeah, good. Back for part two. You guys have given me the screen to run this time, so it's a bit of trust. Let's see how we bloody go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Start us off.
Yeah. Well, look, Benny Hunt as a pod half buy, maybe a potential cash down from Cleary. If you're looking for someone in like the top 5,000 that's barely owned, you're looking to try and win a head-to-head comp. He's got a history of being dominant in the end of games, and this could be his last year. There's been a
I
talk
heard
that
that.
he's not undecided about whether he wants to stay or retire, and who knows what that means. But he's been putting out good scores lately. What do you guys think about him?
I think it's a very interesting option. I mean, Ben Hunt always finds a way to be relevant, and I think the Dragons they need him so importantly to make the eight, and he has such a good base with his kicking and tackling. But I think more importantly, just his running game looks a lot better this year. So yeah, I'm very interested in him as a buy.
Mm. All right, you
Yeah,
Gutho.
especially with talks about his last year. I think he's been if he doesn't go well, he'd be trying to go out with a bang. If he's not thinking about continuing, so I think he'll be trying to give back to the Dragons and just one last year here, and I think he'll be going. Like I like Ben Hunt. I definitely like him as an option. As soon as you said Ben Hunt, I was like, oh, that's a great option. It's a pod option if you're a head-to-head player. Yeah, why not jump on him? He's got the kicking game. He's got everything to shout out to you. That 70-point guy for fantasy.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like one of those things you kind of hear it cross code. It's like if you got one foot out the door, it usually means it's time to go. So I'm thinking,
Mm.
oh, who knows? He's getting old now. I'd hate to miss out on not owning him. I'm personally not going to be in a position to buy him, which sucks. But
He's been a
I
very,
definitely,
been a very, very good player also.
yeah,
Mm.
100%. All right, let's jump into the next one here. Hamoli Olakawatu. Now he's getting up there in ownership. There's a few people that have jumped on board. He hasn't really lived up to his potential yet. But against the Tigers this week, I've got a good feeling we're going to see a Kaloa Matangi style performance from Olakawatu. What do you guys think?
I
Mm.
definitely agree. Like I think this is kind of scary. I think the Sea Eagles will put an absolute cricket score on us, and I believe that it'll be Daly Cherry Evans, Garrick, Starb, and Hamoli Olakawatu side that does it. I'm gonna call a 65 plus for Olakawatu.
Ooh, like it. What
Yeah,
about you, Gutho?
yeah, yeah. I've had Ola Kawadu all the way through since the before Origin through the period where he's there through suspension. I thought he just hasn't shown much coming off suspension. I was like, I'm gonna keep him. The Tigers are coming up. I thought of thinking of selling him, but I think with the run home, I don't think he will be rested. So I think Ola Kawadu is huge. We know how good that edge is for Manly and how deadly it can be. Like you don't know what they're going to do. They're either going to go out wide to Saab, who's going to run around them, or like Kola. They're just so quick and electric. But you've also got that guy like Ola Kawadu, who's big, powerful. Like you know, if you're going to go short to Ola Kawadu, you're going to get burnt on the outside. Which one? And if it goes Ola Kawadu's way for the Tigers, yeah, I think even 70 plus for Ola Kawadu, it could be an absolute lethal game against the Tigers. And I'm a call the predictions just for the game. I think 30 plus to Manly. I think it's just gonna be
Ooh,
slaughterfest.
yeah. Ooh, maybe a sneaky captaincy option then. If he's going
Mm,
to score around that, he could be worth it. I'm not going to take the punt, but I've got him in my team, and I hope he goes off.
yeah.
Go next, Bo Fermor. Now he's surprisingly still low ownership. Now it could just be because he had the 2 weeks out. I jumped on him as an antipod to Fafita, and it was looking very promising until he was out for 2 weeks. Now it's very unlikely from the time I bought him to the end of the season that he'll outscore Fafita overall, but it doesn't mean he won't outscore him in the remaining games. He covers the center, which is where I've got him alongside Carraz. What do you guys think about Fermor?
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
like him. We know what he's been able to do in the second row, and even in the centers, he's been able to score some very, very good points. I do think if you're buying him as a center, it is a bit too expensive, but I mean, as an edge, we all know what he can do before that ACL surgery, also. So, uh, I think it is very, very interesting option if you need a center and you're looking to trade Nathan Cleary out him. I don't think he'll be a captaincy option, but I think he's someone that could very much average you 55 to 60 in the last 3 games.
Mm.
Mm,
What about you,
Well,
Gutho?
we haven't seen many good centers. Well, we have with Aero averaging like strong base and be able to show us consistent performances regarding center wise. They fluctuate a bit, just like you say, Jai, the 1 to 5 rule. I really like that. But I think Bo's a guy you could have a solid guy like you and Aiken. He can sort of be in that center position. You got him in edge and center. I definitely think he is a good guy covering. Just say you got like a guy like Val Holmes who could maybe rested. So I think he's a good cover position there. Who gets rested in those edge and center positions if you got anyone playing finals and they're rested. So I think Bo Firma could definitely be a great option.
Yeah, he's been massive for us. A lot of people jumped off him that owned him last week, but well, you can see in his last 4 games, 61, 70, 46, and 71. As a center, you'd even take
Mm.
that 37, 49, 40, 50, 69, 58, 63. As a center, it's massive. And he covers the
Yeah.
edge, you got that DPP if you need him. But yeah, I think he's solid. He's been good for me. Hopefully he comes back from this injury and keeps it going.
Mm. Couldn't agree
Matty
more.
Burton. Now we've touched on Matty Burton already a little bit through other players. I think he is not going to outscore DCE this week, but I think he's a very good shout to outscore DCE for the remaining games as overall average for the last 3 rounds, not overall in terms of the game. But he's been massive for the Dogs, and his kicking is what's getting him out of trouble when they're deep in their own half. His kick meters have been absolutely insane. Like not always getting high kick meters, but the games where he's in demand, like there was a game here against the Sharks and the Warriors. Look at this. He's nearly up at 700 kick meters, which is crazy. So he's getting a lot of points just through kicking. His attacking and ball running is insane. And Sexton seems to control the game enough to allow him to run the ball more, which makes him look deadly. And in the last 3 games, I'll just pick up this on my other screen for a sec. Last 3 games, I'm pretty sure are I think Storm might be involved in here somewhere. Oh no, Warriors,
Yeah,
Seagulls, and
Warriors, man.
Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys.
Yeah, so there's a good shout there that he could go over for a try, but that the Bulldogs might win all 3 of those games. I think the Bulldogs should be considered strong to win those games. So Burton's going to be heavily involved. But what do you guys think? It's a big pod play.
Mm.
You go first, Guffo.
100% is. Regarding resting, I don't think they'll rest Matt Burton as the Dogs will be fighting for that top 4 position, definitely to try and play for that rest, definitely. But I definitely think Matt Burton, he's a great option. You talked about the kicking meters. We know how I just value there in that kicking role for him. But we know he's got good attacking stats playing, running the ball, and I think he is kicking for them, I believe. So just extra value there for Bodo. So yeah, I just think he's a great option. He's a consistent option, a guy who you want to score points. I don't think money's really the issue these days. In the back end of the season, just a consistent guy who's going to score some points above 50. So I definitely think Matt Burton's a great option.
So, what about you, Will?
I really liked Matt. You saw he started off the season a little bit slow, but with a really nice running game and just improved kick meters when Drew Hutchinson left. I do think that Matt is very interesting. I do think they could also put a cricket score on the New Zealand Warriors. I haven't been very impressed with them, and yeah, the thing that stands out for me is Matt has an unreal running game where he can cross for a couple of tries, and the Bulldogs love a tight game, and he loves kicking a field goal too. So I think Matt
Yeah,
very, very interesting option.
yeah,
Yeah,
you poor bugger.
well, he's playing against at Sean Johnson Stadium. So I
Mm.
don't know, could have some missiles flying in when he's trying to kick the ball. You never know. They'll try and do anything to win. So definitely close game. Maybe might get 90 minutes out of him.
Oh yeah, and if there's any team that wants to silence a loud
Hmm.
crowd, you'd think it'd be the Doggies this year. I think it's going to be a great game. There's no way in the world I'm missing a minute of it.
Mm.
We'll jump into the last one I've got here. Jacob Preston. Now he's pretty well established over at Blindside. Like people that follow us, they would know who Jacob Preston is. We have been super high on him ever since he got into the starting role again with the side. He been injured a couple of times this year, but we've like strongly encouraged coaches to hold on to him and don't let him go. And you can see there's a very clear reason for that. He's top tier. I'd say he's top 5 or top 7. Let's say, be generous to the other guys, but top 7 edge in the game. And this year he's probably up there within like top 4. Very low ownership. Again, it's a similar situation to Burton, pushing for top 4. He's one of their attacking weapons on the edge. What do you guys think about Presto?
Jacob Preston burst onto the scene out of nowhere last year and proved that he was an absolute fantasy keeper. Up at about 750k, I think his highest was last year, and yeah, absolutely killing it back in that mid end when coming back into the second row. You see, he loves crossing over for a try, and we've got a pretty nice draw. I actually really do like him as a buy. 720k is a little bit pricey when you look at both Fermor and Ola Kawatu also being cheaper than him, but yeah, I do really like Jacob Preston, and I think that he can pump out really nice scores with no tries, and if he scores tries, he can pump out really nice scores too. So yeah, I'd pull the trigger.
Nice.
Have to 100% agree with that, Will. Last year he was in out of my side a couple times. I think 3 times he was in and out of my side, and I thought this year after injury, I think it's definitely time to pick him up, and I've held him since coming back from that injury. So I think he's been awesome. He had that 83, and I've held him ever since, like 51, 47, 65. We know he can go big, and when he scores those tries, he can get up to that 80 score. And definitely last year, he's got it all. Tackle bust freak. We can see he gets up to 5 there, and he makes a lot of tackles and gets through a lot of hard yakka of work. So definitely with how deadly the backs are for the Bulldogs, you could see Preston a shout for even. We know he works hard and he's there for every play, so he might be backing up for a line break off Bronson Cherry there, inside ball straight to Preston under the post. So you never
I'd love
know.
that. That'd be nice. Now, how long have we got left? Have we got time for one more?
Yeah, we got.
I want to throw in a curveball here. Now, I'm not expecting anyone to agree with this, but it's Adam Reynolds. Now, he is more like, well, an appropriate analogy. But let's just say he's in for 1 week and then out for 4. That is pretty much the standard for Reynolds this year. He's not reliable in terms of his fitness. Like, he's a brilliant player. He could get injured at any time. But look what we've seen when he has high demand in his last couple games. Like, look, he's got a 68, 43, 25, 34, 17. Some of these are injury affected, but his price has plummeted to 553. He's a 700k player, generally speaking. So if we can see some more reliability from him, let's say in the run home, the Broncos are just fighting for dignity in the end. Is there any, if you're priced out of the top range market, let's say you can only afford someone under 600 grand, is Adam Reynolds someone that you'd be interested to take a pod punt on?
Well, yeah, I'm also going to ask you to talk about another player after bringing him up in Cameron Munster, but I've been looking at Munster and Reynolds for a couple of weeks. You know, we all know what Reynolds can do, stringing a couple of games together, and I mean, mathematically they can still make the 8, so he'll have to do a lot for the Broncos. Now with Walsh out too, he'll have to steer them around more. So, yeah, I'm very interested in Reynolds. And I do think that the Brisbane Broncos will have a good game this week, where Reynolds should kick well. So, I think if you have the guts, pull the trigger, and I reckon he'll do you a good job.
Yeah, it's a ballsy play.
Very.
What about you, Gutho?
Yeah, I definitely think it is a ballsy play. We talked about Sean Johnson before, and I think it's sort of that play. But he makes me nervous as a Broncos support every time he touches the ball. But I think he could be an awesome option. We know he can get that 70 type of guy. We know how many try assists he is, and he's always backing up there. He's got grit. And I think this was a talk about recently about Kevy maybe losing his job, as the last 3 seasons they've only made the finals once. I feel like he'd really stand up for Kevy and have some big games, and Kevy will give him a ream and try and get the boys up for it to make the 8. So I definitely think he's playing with a lot on his shoulders, and Renault's been around that long. I think he's time to shine. So if you don't have the cash for those top tier guys, I think Reynolds is definitely that number 1 priority, maybe.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting option. And I think, like you said, he's like that Daly Cherry Evans, Cody Walker type player. Like, he's the guy that's backing up right until the very end, and he'll push. So, you know, there's those sneaky points that he can score through tries. But Cameron Munster, now he's definitely of a cheaper price point, plays in a better team. I'd say arguably he's the safer bet, but he does have that same risk of potentially get re-injuring, in my opinion. But super low ownership, slightly more owned than Reynolds, but not that much more owned that it's going to change his status as a pod. What do you guys think about Munster?
Yeah, I'll talk about it first because I was the one who suggested it. I
Yeah.
know one of my really good mates brought in Cameron Munster, and I mean, I think both of us have a man crush on Cameron Munster. There's no doubt about it. We all know what he can do, and I think at the start of the season, if you told me I would be getting Cameron Munster for 538k, I would have called you crazy and blocked you. And now I think that with Nathan Cleary out, if you have two trades left, you could look at Cameron Munster. Like if you have a Strange and a Cleary, you go Munster to Strange, the Strange to Munster, Munster then Cleary to Gun. I think it's a really nice move. But the thing that I like about Munster is I don't think he'll get rested against the Cowboys just because he doesn't have enough footy under his belt to be rested. And I think that I mean he's just such a hustler and a fighter out there. So I do like Munster as a buy, as a very interesting pod to finish the season.
I like it too. I wish I had a trade to bring him in.
Yeah, more tempting. Ben Hunt, Cameron Munster, Adam Reynolds. Who should I? I've got the trades. I haven't made them yet, but I definitely think I've got the analogy for Cameron Munster I use on him. I see him as a 40-year-old dad bullying his 6-year-old kid playing backyard footy when he's on. When Cameron Munster's definitely on and he's playing his best footy, he's like that bullying big figure. You know, when he's get the ball, he's going to break it open and do something. You just don't know when it's going to happen. But when you see it happens, 91, you get those 91s and those hundreds that you see. Would just hopefully you could take the absolute gamble on him at that low price, and he can be consistent too. So I think at the low price, he could be an absolute gamble and pod only that 2% in that top 5,000. So yeah, if you're trying to jump ranks, Cameron Munster could be that go.
A massive little add-on to that too is if he doesn't pop off this year, or even if he does, he's going to be pretty well priced next year. And in the off season, he's having that groin surgery, so he should hopefully come back without any issues in 2025. And I'd say now it's a bit early, but I'd say that he's probably going to be one of the top guys in the halves to start 2025.
Oh yeah, I know. Me and my brother used to always start every season with Cameron Munster and Harry Grant. I set and forgets.
Yeah, nice. No, they're reliable players, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I think that pretty much wraps us up. First of all, Jai, I know in Chip and Chase we played a lot of respect to this guy, and I think both you and me would safe to say that personally we'd like to thank the Casual Athlete for everything he's done for us. You know, I don't think we'd be half the podcast without him. Just to support and taking us under the wing, and yeah, we really appreciate everything that Daniel Long and his team over at the Casual Athlete and obviously the TBC Live boys have done. Yeah, do you have any words to say for them and just show your gratitude?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We put a post about Longy a couple of weeks ago now, but he reached out to us when we were on like 30 odd followers, and offered to have us on his podcast to do an episode of a round review, like a round wrap up. And I was just like, what the hell? I've been watching you for a couple of years. And it just seemed crazy that he's reaching out. But then as you got to know him, it's like he does this with every new brand. It's like every new fantasy creator that's trying to get onto the platform and create something of themselves and promote something in the fantasy space. Long he's on top of them and promoting them and is there for them. And it's a testament to the kind of bloke he is. Again, same as what you just said, we wouldn't be half the page we are without his help. And we owe a lot to him. So yeah, absolute champion. If you guys don't follow the Casual Athlete, Casual NRL now on Instagram, you've got to get to him. He's top tier.
Yeah,
100%. Wanna anything you've got to say about what you're doing over there at Blindside, up and coming for the last ended off the season?
Oh yeah. Well, Blindside, similar to you guys. It's like the growth's been pretty similar. It's like we started in round 3 this year. And Longy got us on his podcast, we're on his YouTube channel, and then that got us a bit of exposure. And then we made some like risky calls that ended up paying off and word spread. And then next thing you know, it's like far out. We've just grown pretty crazy. We've got our Patreon pretty well up and running now. We've got heaps of ideas for next season. So look, it was just pretty much a feeler year for us at Blindside. Was like, look, I don't know how do you make a business plan for a business you've never invested in or done something before. So it was like, let's
Mm.
just get into it this year, set up some socials, build a following, figure it all out, and then next year we can take it pretty hard. So, got heaps of plans, heaps of ideas, and next year we're going to pull the trigger on them. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Sweet. Yes, sounds like a big 2025 coming up for all of us for NRL
Yeah.
fantasy. We'll grow the platform. So thank you very much, guys, for listening. And we'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.